Those individual movers that we are watching out for in trade today on the back of numbers, a lot of news flow that is happening as well. Honasa Consumer on top, let's look at that. That is locked in lower circuit. Fusion Micro, that's down and out in trade as well, down 5%. That also locked in lower circuit. So yes, that's all we'll be talking about in terms of markets. But, continuing with the markets, let's also bring on board Anish Damania, who's the MD and CEO at JM Financial Institutions and Securities, joining in with us right now. Anish, very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in with us on this show. And earnings is over. US elections is over. Now everything that we were watching out for is over. Markets volatile. The Trump card, that is seeming like something bit of a volatility that we're seeing right now. But is that expected to continue? What are we watching out for now?
Yeah, I think one of the key things was the earnings season, in my view, and also our view as a house. We had seen some earnings disappointments in the last quarter and followed up with more disappointments in this quarter. So I think the correction in the market is also part of the fact that earnings have disappointed. Uh, there are several reasons for that, but among those which could be prominent is slowdown in consumption, and that could be led by many factors, including lower government spending. I think there is a possibility that the government spending will kickstart once again as the elections get over, and we should start seeing some of that starting to kick into the economy. So from that aspect, probably we'll see a better second half than the first half, and part of the correction which had happened because of this also can get reversed from that point of view.
Okay. Anish, good morning. Good to have you on the channel after a long time. But now that we are talking about maybe some recovery in government spending that would come by in the second half, something that we saw in 2020 as well, right? After the elections were done. Which are some of the sectors which will be in focus? Because there has been a drawdown across segments this time. It's not been good, or I would say largely stable for any of them. So which sectors do you think could be in focus, somewhere that you see some comfort coming up?
I think we are having our conference, right in the middle of at the end of this earnings season, and almost we have about 175 companies with nearly 50% of them represented by the CEOs and MDs. And when I see this kind of a representation from the top level management in a particular conference or event, it tells me that they will have a story to tell. And I guess that story could be a lot more positive than what we have seen so far. So from that aspect, I would expect that things are looking to bottom out from where we see. Secondly, in terms of sectors, I've seen particularly the domestic manufacturing has done better. The EMS companies has done very well. The PSU banks have done very well as compared to what was expected out of them, and even steel mining and some of the asset management companies, pharmaceuticals, and diagnostics have done better in this quarter versus what the expectations were. So I think these are the sectors which one needs to watch out for.
Okay, surely we'll keep an eye out on that. You mentioned about PSU banks, but I want to talk about overall, Anish, in terms of PSUs, right? We've seen a rally coming in last year when you talk about some of these railway names, defense names. Do you think that story is still left to play out? And, we could see a bit move on that PSU side as well?
We don't cover railway stocks, so not fair for me to comment. But I think on the defense side, also we saw markets running ahead of expectations to a great extent. All the PSUs had performed exceedingly well. I guess earnings in some cases have kept pace. So wherever the earnings have kept pace, probably we'll start seeing recovery back in PSUs. So to that extent, defense is one name which comes across where Bharat Electronics definitely has done a lot better than what most people expected them to do. In case of PSU banks, I think if you see across the board, across all parameters, they have done very well. So within the PSUs, I think there is going to be some selection where one needs to put the money. So clearly, PSU banks and some of the defense stories do look good.
Okay. So the other story that played out, so we saw massive cuts in mid caps and small caps in the month of October, but the flows were great. They were at record highs for mid cap funds in the month of October. In fact, equity flows were at record high. Now that we do have FIs going away, but the support coming in from DIs, how do you look at the small and the mid cap space, Anish? Do you think now we could start finding some comfort, and what we saw in October could continue now as well?
In the small and the mid-cap space, actually, if you see the earnings season, they have probably disappointed the most. I think what had happened in particular was most of the companies had run ahead of expectations, and therefore, in order to justify probably the kind of movement which we saw in the stocks uh, post our budget, uh, uh, we could have seen some adjustments upwards for earnings, and that probably has not come about. And to an extent, there has been cut in most of the earnings which you have seen. We feel that most of the cuts are behind us. And if the spending comes back, I think we are going to see even the small and mid caps do a little better.
Okay, hoping to see them do better going forward. But just one last word in terms of, obviously, we've seen the recent fall coming in the markets. What are we watching out for in terms of, do you think FIIs will now start coming back? Do you think this is what they were waiting for to enter India at this right time when they're seeing a bit of a correction?
I think it's still undecided if you were to look at it. We are still not seeing flows to an extent ebbing. There is a small ebb, but the outflows were very large a month back. We are seeing some ebbing, but we still need to see some more time before we can tell what's really happening there. I think now that Trump has got elected, there are diverse views which are coming about. Some people say that if it is going to be more inward looking, then people exporting out from emerging markets into US could also face barriers, and that could impact sales for most of these companies. But we need to see how that pans out.
Oh, okay, yes, there's a lot that we need to see, but we are in a wait and watch mode, and we'll get some updates coming in from your conference as well, Anish. So looking forward to that. Thank you so much for joining in today with your insights and the market outlook as well.